Hello, what's up YouTube? Slither here. Today we have Cartethia's kit to be revealed. So there it is. She's finally coming out tomorrow. When I'm recording this video, the banner the Ciaccona banner just go on in like just ended in like 1 minute ago. So yeah, let's get right into the kit and see everything we need to know about the new character. She's coming out tomorrow with the update 2.4. I'm very excited for her. Let me know if you are also pulling for her. So let's get right into the kit and every important thing you need to know. So they posted this here, Cartethyia, and these are the mats. If you need this, all of her mats are pre-farmable other than her like 46 boss materials. Other than that, everything you can pre-farm for it. I already have done so. She takes her own weekly mats and all the other mats are farmable as well. So make sure to do that before like today. And only the boss material is like new. So yeah, keep that in mind. And she is a arrow sword character. We're gonna take a deep dive into that and then take a look at our weapon as well. So let's get right into it. Yeah, let's get right into it. Everything is ready. So Cartethyia, yeah. Arrow, sword, and all the stuff. Combat roles. This is like a summary, I think. Main damage dealer, arrow erosion, damage amplification, and traction. Traction means like AOE, like suck. How do you say it? Grouping. Yeah, grouping is the word. So they did have a summary here for short and concise to understand it, and then they have the real kit down below. So yeah, let's get right into the short version first, then we'll go into the details. If you're someone who don't have a bunch of time, just hear this part. So normal attacks, basic attack, Cartethyia, deal arrow damage and inflict arrow erosion on the target and summon Shadow Sword 2. Heavy attack, summon Shadow Sword 1 and does damage. And mid-air attack, deals arrow damage and recall all sword shadows. This instance of damage is also considered arrow damage, and dodge counter deals arrow damage. Okay. So from here you can see she has two types of sword shadow that she can summon. If you see in the picture here, those two sword shadows that she's summoning, these will be summoned 1 and 2, and there's another one on the skill. We'll talk about that soon. You will have 3 sword shadows that you can consume with your mid-air attack, the plunge attack. You will need to use it in order because these sword shadows, each of them will give you a different buff. So you will get these 3 sword shadows and do a plunge attack to consume them. Pretty easy, nothing complicated, only the basic stuff. The normal Cartethyia resonance skill deals arrow damage and inflict arrow erosion on target. Summon Shadow Sword 3. This instance of damage also considered basic attack damage. A lot of these are considered basic attack damage, even the heavy attack. So Sanwa might have some benefits here, but we'll have to see later. So basically, you do basic attack, you do intro skill and resonance skill, and then you get 3 of the swords. Intro skill isn't said here yet, but this is coming up. That's the more important part. So instead of, I'm just letting you know in advance, so it's easier to understand and not confuse later. You don't do the heavy attack. When you do intro skill, you also summon the Shadow Sword 1. Each of the swords are different, so you cannot interchange them. You have to do all of them. So instead of the heavy attack sword shadow 1, you can do the intro skill for the sword shadow 1. You don't need to do the heavy attack. So you can intro skill into basic attack, into skill, and then you can do the plunge attack to consume all of them. Pretty easy, very simple. That's about it, and we'll get buffs. We'll talk about the buffs later. Let's talk about the ultimate first now. So when you do the ultimates, you will transform into Freudalis, the big form. Resonance Liberation Cartethyia. At the cost of HP, transform into Freudalis and enter manifest, during which certain attacks immediately trigger arrow erosion damage. So they didn't really give a lot of numbers here because this is the summary version. The easier version, we will get into the numbers later. The cost of HP is like 50%. So she will get into Freudalis form and she will enter a manifest state. This is the ultimate state basically. The menu, this is not just a name. And she will trigger arrow erosion damage immediately. So this is the manifest state. When in manifest, Freudalis gains the following effects corresponding to the different types of sword shadow recalled. Okay, so here is the important part. Sword shadow 1. Certain attacks propagate the highest stacks of arrow erosion on a target hit to all nearby targets. I'll just give you the numbers right away so that it's one time and easier to understand. From the sword side of one, when you attack the enemy with certain attacks, the enemy, let's say there are 5 enemies and one of them has 5 arrow erosion, another one has like 1 or 2. You will propagate those 5 arrow erosion into all of them, so all of them will have 5 arrow erosion after you hit them with a certain attack in the manifested, if you have the sword shadow 1 buff. From the sword shadow 2, the damage interval of arrow erosion damage is reduced, of course, and the arrow erosion damage taken by the enemy target is amplified. So basically more damage, nothing complicated. Certain attacks stagnate the enemy, gains increased resistance to interruption. This is also basic stuff. It will stun the enemy and you will get resistant to stun. Pretty nice. Restore HP resonance liberation finisher. So this is like the big attack. The big attack isn't shown here, I believe. Is it shown here? Okay, the big attack is not shown here. Is it shown anywhere? Okay, the big attack is not shown anywhere. So if you already saw from like her animation and stuff from the live stream or something and the promotional stuff, she has a finisher after you do the ultimates full combos. I'll get into how you can do that later, but when you finish the ultimates, she will transform back into Cartethyia and she will restore HP and deal massive amount of arrow damage. Simple. Now let's get into the nitty gritty of Forte circuit. This is the main thing. So Fortalice transform into Fortalice and unlock new moves. When in manifest, Cartethyia is able to freely transform between herself and Fortalice. So when you are in the ultimate form, you press the ultimate button again to transform freely between the two forms. There are some benefits to this. We will talk about later how you can take advantage of them. So basically, if you don't have full Forte gauge, you will be able to freely transform between them, and if you have full Forte gauge, you will do the ultimate finisher move, the big attack, that Excalibur type attack, and finish the ultimate. As Fortalice attacks restore Forte gauge. When Forte gauge is full, resonance liberation finisher is available. So this is what I was talking about. If you don't have the Forte gauge full, you will when you press the Q, you will swap between them, but when you have them full, you cannot swap between them anymore. You will have to finish the ultimate then. So this is the intro skill. Nothing important here, just one stack of shadow sword you get. That's everything, nothing else to talk about here. Deals arrow damage, instance arrow erosion, a bunch of attacks. It does like stack arrow erosion, but not a lot, keep that in mind. So you'll need some external stuff here too. So yeah, we'll talk about that in the team section later. So this is the outro skill. Arrow damage dealt by other active resonators in the team to the target with negative status is amplified. So other teammate like Ciaccona or Arrow Rover will deal more damage with negative status on the enemy, like arrow erosion. Nothing like too crazy. So this is a combat guide. So let's get right into it. So from what we know, if we summarize, she has 3 types of sword from her basic attack, intro, and her skill, and you will do a plunge attack to consume all of them. Then you will get into the ultimate form and maybe press the echo before that to get buff, and then you'll get into ultimate form. In the ultimate form, you can freely swap between them. We'll find out what the best combo is later, but it will depend on the team. We'll talk about that soon. So when you get into the ultimate form, you can freely swap between them, and you do your combos, and you gradually gain more like the Forte gauge, and when you have full Forte gauge, you end the ultimate with that big attack, ultimate finisher. So that's about it for the kit, and that's everything you need to know. That's like the heavily simplified version, and nothing too complicated here. Maybe there are a lot of words, but that's very simple to me, and hope you understand that. If you have any questions, leave in the comments. Let's get into the combat guide now. Gain enhancement through different sword shadows and greatly boost arrow erosion damage output. Yeah. Inflict arrow erosion and gain substantial damage boost based on arrow erosion stacks on the target. Cartethyia may freely transform between herself and Fortalice. So this is like the stuff that I already talked about. This is all the simple stuff. As Cartethyia, the last stage of basic attack, heavy attack, intro skill, and resonance skill of Cartethyia will summon different sword shadows. Yeah, we already know this. When there are sword shadows on the field, Cartethyia plunging attack will recall all the sword shadows and cause additional damage based on the sword shadows recalled. Yeah, we already know this. I'll already explain this. Like simple. I'm just reading this stuff to let you know again. When Cartethia's resonance energy is full, press resonance separation to transform into Fortalice and obtain different bonus effects from a certain period of time based on the sword shadows recalled. Of course, As for release, attack restores conviction. Conviction is like the resonance, conviction is the forte gauge. When conviction reaches 120, resonance repression blade of howling recall becomes available. This is like the ultimate finisher. Very simple. This was like a combat guide how to play her. I already explained it before. So let's get into the skills. Like the details part, a little which have stacks counts and little bit of like percentages, I believe. Not really percentages but numbers. So yeah, percentages will be revealed in the game, I think. So yeah, let's see. Basic attack, perform up to 4 consecutive attacks dealing arrow damage. Following basic attack, Cartethyia stage 4, inflict 1 stack of arrow erosion on target hit and summon shadows or divinity shadows. Okay, up to 1 sort of divinity shadows may exist in that for 20 seconds at the same time. Okay, so when you do basic attack, it will summon the sword. It lasts for 20 seconds. When you do basic attack again, it will summon it again probably and refresh the cooldown. That's what I think it's normal to believe. So pretty simple, and it will also stack 1 stack of arrow erosion. Simple. Heavy attack. Heavy attack is not really important. It's the same as intro skill. You won't really use the heavy attack. It's like a time waste. If you didn't do the intro skill and like fighting a normal enemy, fighting a big enemy in the overworld, and you didn't do intro skill on Cartethyia, you can do the heavy attack for the sword, but this is more like a quality of life. So let's get to the mid-air attack. Release normal attack button when airborne to perform plunge attack and cost of stamina, dealing arrow damage. Press normal attack shortly after plunging to perform basic attack, Cartethyia stage 2. Casting mid-air attack, Cartethyia recalls or sword shadows based on the types and number of swords recall. Perform different forms of plunging attack, obtain a corresponding heart of virtue, mandate of divinity, and power of discord. This is like the buffs names. You get 3 different buffs that you already talked about before. We will get into them later too. Maybe they are listed below again in details, but we already talked about the buffs before. That's about it. Dodge counter. Press normal attack shortly after a successful dodge to attack the target, dealing arrow damage. Pretty simple. Resonance skill. Sword to bear their names. Cartethyia resonance skill. Attack the target, launch nearby enemies, and then plunge them to the ground, dealing arrow damage and inflicting 2 stacks of arrow erosion on the target. Remember this, she can inflict 1 stack through a normal attack and 2 stacks through her resonance skill. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about how you can take advantage of swapping between the 2 forms. The big Fortalice form cannot stack any arrow erosion. She cannot inflict any arrow erosion, but the small Cartethyia form can do that. So you may want to do that if you don't have like a Ciaccona on your team to maximize her buff, like maximize her damage. We'll get into that in the liberation section soon, why you need them. Following Cartethyia resonance skill, summon sword of virtue shadow. This is like the second sword or the third sword, I don't even remember. One of the swords. Up to 1 sword of virtue shadow, same thing, 20 seconds. So let's get into the main thing now, resonance liberation. By reducing HP to 50% of the max HP, when you cast the the ultimate, then you will reduce your HP by 50%. Cartethyia transform into Fortalice, unlocking new moves and entering the manifest state, the ultimate state, for 12 seconds. Can be performed in midair. Entering manifest clears all conviction. So all the conviction means like the forte gauge. As Fortalice's basic attack Fortalice stage 5, mid-air attack Fortalice stage 2, and resonance skill may tempest break, and the tides instantly trigger 1 instance of arrow erosion damage, and reduce the arrow erosion stacks on the target hit by 1. It's like they have normal stuff, just arrow erosion stuff, nothing really crazy. I don't know why they take so much complicated words to word this. Like, you can say it very simply. Ending the state will clear resonance energy, of course. No HP cost when HP is below 50%. And the normal stuff. Ending the state will clear all the energy, and HP will not be consumed if your HP is below 50%. Fortalice's attack restores conviction on it. Conviction is the forte gauge. So you will fill it up and do the ultimate attack. When conviction reaches 120 points, press resonance liberation to cast the resonance liberation blade of howling squall. So this is like the big attack at the end, ultimate finisher. When conviction is below 120 points, press resonance liberation to transform back into Cartethyia. When in manifest, casting resonance liberation, a night serpent prayer, as Cartethyia consumes no resonance energy. So as I was talking about it, you can freely swap between them if you don't have the max 120 points of conviction, which is the forte gauge, to do the finisher attack. When Furlis has Heart of Virtue in Manifest, basic attack, Furlis stage 4 will generate a force field to stagnate the targets within the range. Furlis' resistance to interruption increases, Heart of Virtue is removed when Manifest ends. So Heart of Virtue is like a buff of the 3 swords, I think, and when you do basic attack stage 4, it will like group the enemies a little bit, which is pretty nice, a good quality of life. When Furlis has Mandate of Divinity in Manifest, this is like the buffs that I was talking about. Yeah, these are the buffs in details. This is the first buff, the grouping. Second one is when Furlis has Mandate of Divinity, this is the buff's name, Sword 1, Sword 2, Sword 3. Arrow erosion damage is amplified by 50% and damage interval is decreased by 50% for enemies within a certain distance from Furlis. Mandate of Divinity is removed when the manifest ends. So all the manifests and stuff manifests in the ultimate form. Ultimate duration 12 seconds. When Furlis has Power of Discord in Manifest, like the third one. When casting basic attack, Furlis stage 5, Meteor attack, Furlis stage 2, and enhanced heavy attack, Furlis or after resonance skill, may Tempest break the tide deals damage. Raise the arrow erosion stacks on all nearby targets to the highest count among the targets. Power of Discord is removed when the manifest ends. So 3 buffs, very simple. One will do grouping, one will do more arrow erosion damage and decrease the trigger point of arrow erosion, and the third will do like propagate the arrow erosion to all nearby enemies. So the highest count of arrow erosion will be given to all nearby enemies when you hit them with the certain attacks. Furlis will transform back to Cartethyia during push dialogues, environmental interactions, animations, or using utilities. So like flying and stuff, and like gliding, or like the jet, or whatever you call it. Like you cannot do those in big form. Furlis can walk on water, of course, like a normal quality of life. I don't really see them as a problem because we can fly, so this doesn't really matter. This is like looks cool and stuff. Like she's like literally a god type stuff. Like Jinxie, but Jinxie was a old character. She doesn't really have a lot of stuff going on for her, but this is like 2.4. So yeah, she is getting a lot of this stuff. These are pretty nice to tie into one kit. When in walking state, Furlis can step out of high place and walk in mid-air continuously continuous stamina. That's pretty cool. She can literally fly. She's literally like a god. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Avatar Cartethyia. As Furlis, when conviction is below 120 points, press Resonance Liberation to perform basic attack, Cartethyia stage 2, and temporarily transform back to Cartethyia, which pauses the timer on manifest. This is like a very important stuff. So what this says is, when you transform back in your manifest state to switch between the forms, when you go back to Cartethyia, the 12 seconds of the manifest countdown will pause. So that's pretty big, so that you don't waste any time. Obviously that has to be the case, otherwise you won't be able to do the final attack and it might run out in some cases. So you don't have to be a lot of sweaty and stuff. So the timer will pause. That's very nice kit design. I'm very impressed by that. Can be cast mid-air too. Casting the skill mid-air, air performs mid-air attack Cartethyia. Okay. Avatar Furlis. When in manifest, casting resonance represent as Cartethyia performs basic attack. Furlis stage 2 without consuming resonance energy and transformer back to Furlis, which resumes the timer or manifest. So the ultimate timer will be resumed here when you transform back, and can be cast mid-air too. Casting the skill mid-air performs mid-air attack Furlis stage 1. Okay. Now the ultimate attack, like the final attack. This is why all the arrow erosion stacks come in. So keep that in mind and pay attention here. When Furlis has 120 points of conviction, it's like the max points of forte gauge. Resonance Liberation, a Knight's Heartfelt Prayer, is replaced by Resonance Liberation, Blade of Howling Squall. So the previous one was the swapping form, and when you have 120 points of conviction, you will get the ultimate attack, like finisher attack, and which will add the ultimate state and transform back to Cartethyia. Casting Resonance Liberation, Blade of Howling Squall removes all conviction, ends manifest, restores 50% of HP, and then deals arrow damage to all targets in the area along a straight line in point. Upon hitting the target, remove all stacks of arrow erosion on the target. Okay, so here pause. So here, as you can see, it does a lot of things. It ends the ultimate, ends conviction, everything ends, restores 50% HP that is consumed when you casted the ultimate. That's pretty nice. and upon hitting the target it will also remove all stacks of arrow erosion. So here keep that in mind, how many do you need. So here each stack removed amplifies the damage taken by the target by 20% up to 5 stacks, can be cast mid-air. So you will need 5 stacks of arrow erosion to max this out. Per stack you can 20% amplification, so that's like 100% amplification on the ultimate ending form, like the finisher of ultimate. So Cartethyia herself we already saw can do 3 of them. So before you reach 120 conviction points, you can swap back to Cartethyia from Fortalice and quickly do a basic attack and a resonance skill to gain 3 and gain 60% of this. You cannot get max damage like the rest of the 40% from 2 stacks from Cartethyia alone. You will need teammates like the Rover or Ciaccona. Ciaccona is the easy one. You don't need to do any swap back for her. You can just keep attacking. She will keep applying arrow erosion. Nothing really matters. She's like the easy cheat version of her. That's pretty cool. Let's get into the Fortis circuit. Cartethyia unlocks new moves when she transforms into Fortalice. Fortalice basic attack. Basic attack Cartethyia is replaced by basic attack Fortalice. Performs up to 5 consecutive attacks, dealing arrow damage and restoring conviction on hit. Of course, a lot of this will restore conviction because this is the big form in the ultimate state, the manifest state. Mid-air attack Fortalice. Mid-air attack Cartethyia is replaced by mid-air attack Fortalice. Perform up to 3 consecutive attacks in the air and cost of stamina, dealing arrow damage and restoring conviction on every single one of this will restore conviction. While airborne, hold normal attack to cast mid-air attack for stage 3, follow up with a basic attack shortly after cast the basic attack for stage 3, okay? While airborne, casting resonance skill, sword, Venture Waves, call and restore resonance skill, may tempest break and tides reset the cycle of mid-air attack Fortalice, okay? Heavy attack Fortalice. Heavy attack Cartethyia is replaced by heavy attack Fortalice. Thrust forward to deliver focus strike, dealing arrow damage and restoring conviction on it. This instead of damage considered basic attack damage, of course. Enhance heavy attack Fortalice. While casting heavy attack, Fortalice press normal attack again to cast enhance heavy attack. Fortalice fall back and blast the area in a straight line in front, dealing arrow damage and restoring conviction on hit. This instance of damage is considered basic attack damage. Follow up with a basic attack shortly after casting enhance heavy attack Fortalice to cast upward cut for Fortalice, okay? So like the big attacks on the Fortalice form. You'll just do them, just keep clicking and you'll do them, nothing really complicated here. While Fortalice is on the ground, jump and cast this skill, dealing arrow damage and restore conviction on it, okay? Dodge counter Cartethyia is replaced by dodge counter Fortalice. This is like all the stuff that's replaced in the Fortalice form in the ultimate. So like same thing but different. Press normal attack shortly after successful dodge to attack the target in simple things. Arrow resonance skill Cartethyia replaced, okay? Summon a force field near the target's location to continuously pull the nearby targets like the grouping stuff, dealing arrow damage and restoring conviction to hit. Can be cast mid-air, of course. Resonance skill may tempest break the tides. Following resonance skill, sword answer waves call. Press resonance skill again to call down a giant sword to sword shadow to crush an area around the target, creating a force field to pull in nearby targets, dealing arrow damage to ground targets and restoring conviction on it. Follow up with a basic attack shortly after to cast basic attack for stage 3. The resonance skill enters cooldown if resonance skill may tempest break the tides is not cast within a certain period or then switch to another resonator. Can be cast mid-air. So what this says is to show you in details here. So as you can see here, Carlotta, right? Let's go here to show it properly. So Carlotta, as you can see, if you do her skill, she will get another part of a skill when you can do right after. So if you don't do that in time, it will go away and it will get into reset. So that's exactly what it says here. The early stage of the skill has to cast, and if you don't do them quickly, you will just get into ultimate cooldown and it will get into cooldown and it will reset again. That's about it. It's just 2 cast skill. It will pull enemies in to make the grouping easier. That's pretty much it. Intro skill. Cartethyia sword to mark tide stress, dealing arrow damage and inflict 2 stacks of arrow erosion on targets. It summon sword of Discord Shadow. Up to 1 sword of Discord Shadow may exit at the same time. Okay, this is like the normal stuff. We already talked about all this. Fortalice sword to call it. Thrust forward to impale the target, dealing arrow damage, restoring conviction. Press normal attack shortly after Fortalice sword to recall power. Nothing important here. Outro skill. Okay, let's talk about the outro skill here. Arrow damage dealt by active resonators in the team other than Cartethyia for release to target with negative status amplified by 17% for 17.5% for 20 seconds. This is like a little bit more damage for Ciaccona and Arrow Robber if you play them. I don't really think it's a strong outro by any means, because I think it should have been something like Zani or Phoebe to make it more broken. For the only the outro, not the character. It seems pretty okay, pretty nice, pretty powerful. The outro isn't really all that. It's not really that important. It's nothing big. It's just normal stuff. 17.5% amplification on negative status. It's nothing that's crazy. Sorry, I got a call. 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's continue. Inherent skill, a heart's truest wishes. The healing received by all resonators other than Cartethyia for release in the team is increased by 20%. That's pretty nice. The healing received by all resonators other than Cartethyia increased by 20%. That's nice. And the resistance to interruption is enhanced. Oh, so the teammate's resistance to interruption is also enhanced. That's nice. If Rover Arrow is in the team, this is like the special thing for Rover. Thorekeeper also has one of these. Rover Arrow additionally restore 25 wind string upon casting Omega Storm. This is pretty nice, because if you didn't know, Rover's forte gauge has an inherent flaw that can't be fixed without this. I think this was the thing that they gave to her. So when you do 2 combos of Rover, you will gain like 80% of the forte gauge from Rover. You won't get the 100%. So if you have Cartethyia in team with Rover, you will after doing those 2 combos, you can do the ultimate to gain the full forte gauge. That's pretty interesting. That is very interesting. So here, if you want to see, Rover after doing 2 combos will have like this much forte gauge, and if you do the ultimate, you gain the rest of the thing. But if you don't have Cartethyia in team, you will have to go again to do another combo for the rest of the thing, and then you cast the forte gauge attack. That's pretty nice, but I don't think it's necessarily a good thing, because I think things like this shouldn't exist, because I think this should have been implemented in Rover's kit alone. Because why would you restrict it on a different character for a different character's kit quality of life or something, right? But yeah, I don't think having the kind of skills like this is a problem, but having like restrictions is a problem, of course. Thorekeeper has like 10% ER for Rover. That's pretty much nothing, but it's cool to have that. For story reasons and stuff too, right? So yeah, inherent skill wins independent improvement. Whatever, I can't even read anymore, man. Targets with 1 to 3 stacks of erosion take 30% more damage from Cartethyia and for delays. Nice. This is pretty nice. 3 stacks of arrow erosions you can do by your own with basic and skill, and if you have teammates, you will always maintain all 3. Targets with more than 3 stacks of arrow erosion additionally take 10% more damage from Cartethyia and for release. For each stacks of arrow erosion, they have up to 3 stacks. Oh, damn. So this is where Ciaccona comes in. So you can have maximum up to 6 stacks of arrow erosion on an enemy, and you will gain more and more damage. So 60% even more damage from Cartethyia and Fortalice if you have 6 stacks. That is very, very interesting. So I'm pretty much happy with this kit. If you didn't understand anything, let me know. So let's talk about the teams now. Just give me 1 second. All right, so let's get right into the teams now. So for teams, there's really not a lot of options. We do have Arrow Rover. This is Spectro now, but we can just switch, right? Yeah. We do have 2 options only, Arrow Rover and Ciaccona. I got 1 copy here. I don't know when we'll get the full copies. I hope soon. But yeah, we do have only 2 options, Arrow Rover or Ciaccona. Or on details, which one you need most, which teams works best, will all come out later. But do keep in mind, the Ciaccona will works best, of course, for the max stacks of damage on the arrow erosion, for 6 stacks from the passive buff, and the 5 stacks from the ultimate. Those will come in handy very, very nicely. There might be some other options when we discover more about the playstyle, but from what I can see is only Arrow and Ciaccona. Of course, that's pretty obvious, but future characters might work with them as well. Like, let's say a new healer comes out and you have that healer like Sorekeeper, then Ciaccona into the for list, so that might work like a better specific healer for Arrow teams in like specifically. So that might be the case. For now, that's only part that you need to know about the teams. So a team like this can work. Instead of Gian, you can use Cartethyia, right? So that's pretty much it. So that's it for the teams. For the sets, keep in mind, this is pretty important. She is purely HP scaling. She does not scale with attack. Before we talk about that, let's talk about here. I have pulled up here, I think. Yeah, let's talk about the weapon. So the weapon here is, can I zoom in on this? Yeah, I can, I think. Yep, here. So the weapon is a max HP increased by 12%, like the number like the R1 S1. Max HP is increased by 12%. 15 seconds after casting intro skill or basic attacks, ignore 8% of the target's defense. When dealing damage, if the target has at least one stack of arrow erosion, which will be pretty much the case all the time, the target's damage taken amplified is by 20%. This is a pretty stacked weapon, pretty nice weapon. They didn't really show any stats here. The weapon might have some... What's the core stat of the weapon? Okay, it's shown here. Nice. Obviously, it's shown here. It's here. So 412 attack, which is unusable. Like, she does not scale with attack. This is useless, completely dog shit. Nothing happens from it. And 72% HP. That is very, very, very juicy stuff. That's pretty much really nice for her. That alone makes her best in slot. Like, makes this weapon best in slot, of course. For other weapon options, anything that scales with HP you can use, but not a lot of them scales with HP. You can use any of the crit ones that substats. I mean, passive should work. Passive should have like other stuff. Do we have a HP weapon? I don't think so. The weapon might be a problem then if you don't have much HP options. We might not have. This is like the first HP scaling character, so we might have some problem here. A lot of them scales with attack, yeah. Not a lot of them have a HP scaling. I mean, none of them has a HP scaling. Keep that in mind, and there might be a free weapon in the event next patch. They'll have to do that too. There might be a free weapon from the event that will work great with her. We'll have to keep that in mind too. So yeah, we'll go into the weapon section in details later. So as for the sets, you need to do this here, I think. Yeah, let's scroll here for the new set that they announced. This will be the new best in slot for her. I mean, the new set will be the best in slot for her. The current arrow set is not for her at all. Inflicting arrow erosion on enemies, increased arrow damage for all resonators on the team. This is like the buff set, not a DPS set. This is the real DPS set. Arrow damage increased by 10%. Hitting a target with arrow erosion increases crit rate by 10% and grants 30% arrow damage bonus to all arrow damage bonus to the like the older, lasting 10 seconds. So the old set only gives arrow damage bonus. Let's read in details. Like 30% arrow damage bonus for 15 seconds after releasing intro skill. This one is 30% instead of 35. Okay, both are 30% and it has extra 10% crit rate. But this duration is 10%, but this is 100% uptime, of course, because the arrow erosion will be 100% uptime on the enemy if you have Ciaccona, or even if you have like don't have a normal Cartethyia, you can also apply arrow erosion. So that's pretty nice. This is the other set. If you want to raid, you can raid here, but this is the main set for Cartethyia. This will be the main set. As for like main stat and stuff, if you see here, this will be her main core cost, her own like the echo of her own weekly boss. This will be the forecost that we want to use. This also has special effects on rover or her. This question mark is her. You will use this. Main stat will be crit rate or crit damage. The both of the 3 cards you will use, I think using HP on them will be better. Not arrow. Or hold up, I just got an idea, because that will be better. So using 4-4-1-1-1 will be better on her, because if you use 4-4 on the 4-4 set, you will get this attack, right? But on the 3 cost you also get attack. But if you use the 1 cost, you can get HP, but double HP. So for example, can we find a HP 1 cost here? Can we find an HP 1 cost? So yeah, as you can see, this is like the not 5-star, but it also works. So if you have 1 cost of the thing, if you use HP of main stat, you also get on the 1 cost you have HP substats. You remember 1 cost have HP substats if you use the HP main stats, but arrow if you use 3 cost does not have HP substats. So you can take full advantage of the 1 cost HP substat here. If you use HP, if you use 4-4-1-1-1, you won't have to use the 3 cost attack substat, because attack is useless on her. So keep that in mind. That will be very, very important. I think 4-4-1-1-1 will outweigh the damage of 4-3-3-1-1 because of that stats thing. So keep that in mind. You need 4-4-1-1-1. 4-4 will be crit rate, 1 crit rate, 1 crit damage maybe, or maybe both crit damage if you have enough crit rate. And the 1 cost will be HP. With on the substat you will need crit damage and crit rate, maybe some basic attack stuff, basic attack damage extra, and energy regen you can get as well. And HP, of course, HP substat also works. Also other than that, basic attack will work, and heavy attack might work as well. So your main priority will be crit and HP. Crit rate, crit damage, and HP. So 4-4-1-1-1, all 3 1 will be HP main stat, and other 2 will be crit. That's pretty much it for the sets. So let me know what you think about this. If you have any other questions about this, leave me in the comments down below. I'll answer as much as possible. With that, I'm very, very excited for her. How many pulls do I have? I have 900, this many. I hope I can get more, because in the next match I will probably have like 130 to some more pulls. So in the first half might get like 80 or 60. That will be enough for both, hopefully both weapon and her. I don't know, I have to win. Hopefully I get lucky. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. With that, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.